June. 3 things that happened in Clover Gap in June. 1. People start cooking outside a lot. 2. Flowers I've never heard of before pop up everywhere. Peonies, freesias, and bleeding hearts, which are all a little purplish pink and actually shaped like hearts. 3. Cloverfest. Apparently this matters more than all the rest. In June, Clover Gap goes crazy for clovers. 3 questions I asked Sora about Cloverfest. 1. Why is it such a big deal? Answer. It's like the most fun time in the whole year here, better than Halloween. 2. What do you do there? There are carnival rides and a petting zoo with farm animals and a 4-leaf clover hunt and a beauty pageant where they crown a Miss Clover and a Junior Miss Clover, and everyone makes recipes using clovers, and there's a contest to see whose is the best. 3. Isn't it weird that it's in June? I mean, since St. Patrick's Day is in March? Answer. Accompanied by a blank stare. What are you talking about? St. Patrick's Day is for shamrocks. Clovers are completely different. 1 question I asked Kate about Cloverfest. Is it really as awesome as Zora says it is? Answer. Yes, Cloverfest is the best. Since Kate is usually more subdued than Zora, I'm starting to believe the hype. 2 things about Cloverfest I'm looking forward to. Rides, petting zoo. 3 things about Cloverfest that just sound weird. 1. Clover recipes. 2. Miss Clover pageant. 3. Junior Miss Clover pageant. 3 ways my family is being surprisingly enthusiastic about Cloverfest. 1. Mom is searching the local consignment store for Clover-themed clothing we can all wear. Ted and I keep saying no thanks to that one. 2. Ted says the band got a sweet gig playing after the pageant, and they have finally decided on a name for themselves. Mind the Gap. Ted explained to the other guys that in some cities, subway doors have signs on them telling people to mind the gap, so they won't accidentally step into the space between the platform and the train. And since the name of our town is Clover Gap, well, the guys thought it was genius. I've never seen Ted look so proud. 3. Dad is making time to experiment with clover recipes. Clover salad, clover pesto, clover cookies. It's good to see Dad getting back in his groove in the kitchen, but still, clover cookies? At least I'm hoping this will be an end to Mom, Ted, and me being in charge of dinners, which have been mostly a rotation of burgers. Hamburgers, turkey burgers, veggie burgers, snore burger. 4 things the kids at school are planning for Cloverfest. 1. Zach's dad is a farmer, and he's going to loan one of his sheep to the petting zoo. 2. Zora is going on the Tilt-A-Whirl for the first time. She said her parents put an age minimum on it after Marcus went on it and barfed when he was 8. 3. Kate is ironing clover patches onto her favorite jeans. 4. Amelia's cousin Hope is in the running for Junior Miss Clover, and she told Amelia she could help her get ready backstage. 3 questions I asked for Mom, who grew up going to her county fair in North Carolina. 1. Is it like the street fair in Brooklyn? Answer. Not really. There's a lot of good food like there is at street fairs, but there are also rides. It's more like Coney Island with farm animals. 2. Will it be like the fair in Charlotte's Web? Answer. I guess. My county fairs were, but apparently this one will also have lots of clovers. 3. Am I allowed to hang out with my friends on my own, or do I have to stay with you the whole time? Answer. You can hang out with your friends as long as you stay with them, and you have to do a check-in with me at a certain time. I pointed out that if I had my own cell phone, I could just text her and we wouldn't have to arrange a check-in. She smiled and said it wasn't a big deal. She was okay with the check-in. No big surprise there. First 5 thoughts that popped into my head when I got to Cloverfest. 1. I had no idea there were this many people in Clover Gap. 2. There's a Ferris wheel and it looks pretty high. 3. Even though there's so much people noise, laughing, shouting to friends, babies crying, It's almost drowned out by the carnival music. 4. The smell is as strong as the music. Depending on which way the wind blows, the fairgrounds either smell like funnel cake, candy apples, hot dogs, or pizza. Or cows, sheep, and pigs. Or sometimes all those smells at the same time. 5. I see Kate and Zora. They were waiting for me by the ticket booth. "Come on," said Zora. "Let's see if we can rescue Amelia from Pageant Land." 4 things Mom made me promise before she let me leave with them. 1. I would not leave the group. 2. I would not talk to strangers. 3. If I got lost or separated from the group, I would ask another mom for help. 4. I would meet her at the pageant stage in an hour. 3 things that prevented me from meeting Mom an hour later. 1. Amelia throwing up on the tilt-a-whirl. 2. Amelia's throw-up landing on Zora and Kate. 3. Me, by default, having to pinch hit as Hope's pageant helper. 3 reasons I should have known Amelia might get sick on the tilt-a-whirl. 1. She ate almost an entire funnel cake before we got on. 2. She started looking a little green before the ride even started. 3. As you know, I had witnessed Amelia's sensitive puke reflex in the past. But I gave her the benefit of the doubt this time. I knew she wanted it to be a secret. Besides, I figured no blood was involved, so maybe she was safe. I was wrong. 4 places Amelia's funnel cake landed after it came back up. Amelia's shirt, the seat of the tilt-a-whirl car, Zora's jeans, Kate's jeans. Somehow the vomit missed me. Zora and Kate said that they were going to have to take Amelia somewhere and clean themselves up. I thought I was lucky until Amelia said, "Annie, since you're the only one with no stick on you, will you go tell Hope that I can't help her get ready for the pageant?" 2 things I said to try to get out of this assignment. 1, I told my mom I'd stay with you guys. Amelia said it was okay because her mom and her aunt would be with Hope too. 2, I have to meet my parents at 7 o'clock. Amelia's response, "That's right, when the pageant starts, so you'll be fine." One way I could tell Hope had no idea who I was when I showed up backstage at the pageant. When I found her in the dressing room for contestants wearing a shimmery green leotard and looking at herself in the mirror as she put on green eye makeup, she said, "Who are you?" 4 things I said to identify myself, waiting for Hope's blank stare to go away. 1, I'm Annie. 2, I'm Amelia's friend. 3, I was at her slumber party. 4, I'm the one who spilled the perfume. Finally, that one seemed to register. 3 questions everyone had next. Hope, why are you here? Hope's mom, sorry, who are you, dear? Amelia's mom, where's Amelia? Here I was torn. I figured Amelia wouldn't care if her mom knew about her throwing up, but I'm guessing she wouldn't want Hope to know. So I said the first thing that popped into my head. She spilled drink on herself and she had to get cleaned up. Zora and Kate are with her. At this news, Hope rolled her eyes, turned back to the mirror and said, "What is it with you kids and spills?" One alarming order I was given next, from Hope's mom. "Well, we still need another set of hands. If it's only you here, you'll have to help us." 3 reasons I was the worst possible person to help Hope get ready for the pageant. 1, I know nothing about pageants. 2, I knew nothing about the things that seemed very important in pageants: makeup, fancy dresses, perfect hair, public speaking. 3, I was not exactly a fan of Hope. 3 pageant assistant assignments I was given. 1, hold Hope's hair in a tight bun while the moms pin Clover barrettes around it. Yes, apparently this is a 3-person job. 2, shield Hope's costume with a sheet while the moms spritz her face lightly with green glitter. Again, 3 people on this task. 3, guard Hope's backup baton. Why did she have a backup baton, you ask? Well, in case something happened to her first baton, of course. Hope's act for the talent portion of the pageant was a baton twirling routine. My new most embarrassing moment. Walking on stage in the middle of the Junior Miss Clover pageant to retrieve the backup baton, which I accidentally tossed from backstage during Hope's performance. 2 things that Amelia and Hope had apparently worked out during their pre-pageant practice. 1. The steps of Hope's baton routine, including one part where she puts down the baton, looks to the side, and does a little wave. 2. An emergency signal that would let Amelia know Hope needed the backup baton. 2 things Hope forgot to tell me because she was so nervous. 1. The steps of the routine. The side wave part would have been particularly good to know. 2. The emergency signal. So that is why, when Hope dropped her baton, looked off stage and waved, I was not aware that it was meant to be a fun and whimsical gesture, as she would later tell me. I assumed she had determined her first baton was defective and was motioning for me to toss her the new one. 2 clues that immediately told me I was not supposed to have tossed the baton. 1. The horrified look on Hope's face. 2. The gasp from Hope's mother, who was standing behind me in the wings. Hope froze as her music continued and the baton rolled merrily toward the front of the stage, coming to a stop right at the edge. And then it was my turn to be horrified, because Hope's mother nudged me and hissed, "You have to go get it!" 3 ways it was clear I did not belong on that stage. 1. I was not sporting a single Clover. My observant of the dress code included jeans and a green t-shirt. 2. My hair was in a ponytail and not styled, sprayed, and sparkly like the hair of the contestants. 3. I couldn't even hold on to a baton, much less twirl and catch it. 4 things I could see from the stage. 1. My parents and Zora's parents gaping at me from our designated meeting spot. 2. Ted and Marcus and their bandmates staring, open-mouthed. 3. Also staring, Zach, Charlie, Charlie's mom, and Charlie's grandmother. 4. Zora, Amelia, and Kate cleaned up and dressed in head-to-toe Cloverfest gear. 6 people who started laughing. Ted, Marcus, Charlie, Zach, Zora, Kate. 4 people who were definitely not laughing. Charlie's grandma, Hope, Hope's mother, Amelia. 2 things Hope's mother hissed from backstage. "Get off that stage!" to me. "Just keep going," to Hope. So Hope kept going. I have to give her some credit. She seemed to make it through the rest of the routine pretty smoothly. Although I can't say for sure that she didn't make any mistakes, since I hadn't watched her practice 100 times, like Amelia had. And I got off the stage as fast as I could. I handed the backup baton to Hope's mom, whispered, "I'm so sorry," and ran out into the crowd to find my parents. 5 things people said when I got out into the audience. Number 1, Dad. "Hey, you're famous." 2, Ted. "Nice one, Annie. You literally dropped the baton." 3, Kate. "That was kind of amazing." 4, Amelia. "Hope's going to kill me, and now I have to help her get ready for the evening gown competition. She was really pale, like she might get sick again." Without saying goodbye to anyone, she bolted for the dressing room. 5, Mom. "Honey, are you okay?" Was I okay? I wasn't so sure. Hope was a pretty awful person. I didn't much care that I'd messed up her routine, but I knew Amelia was afraid of her, and now she was going to have to pay for my mistake. 3 pageant titles that Hope did not win. 1, Junior Miss Clover. 2, Most Talented. 3, Miss Congeniality. 1 pageant title that Hope did win, Miss Photogenic. Amelia had told us that Hope was predicting from the beginning that she would get that one because she claimed it went to the prettiest girl in the pageant. But I knew it wouldn't be enough to make her forget the baton blunder. The 3 scariest parts of the Clover Fest. 1, the crazy Clover roller coaster, according to Ted and Marcus, though I had to take their word for it because I was too short to ride it. 2, the operator of the tilt-a-whirl, who was rumored to be an escaped convict. Mom said that that was ridiculous, though she didn't sound positive. 3, the sight of Miss Photogenic Clover, moments after the pageant ended, lunging toward me with murder in her eyes. 4 things Hope accused me of. 1, being a gigantic klutz. 2, being a moron. 3, destroying the baton routine. 4, losing her the Junior Miss Clover title. 5 people who started to jump to my defense. Mom, Dad, Ted, Kate, Zora. One person who interrupted them and put Hope in her place. Me. I did. I looked Big Bad Hope straight in the eye and said, I'm sorry your baton routine got messed up, but I did the best I could. And you are so terrible to people all the time that I'm pretty sure you lost the pageant all by yourself. 3 awesome things that happened then. 1, the crowd erupted into cheers. 2, my friends lifted me onto their shoulders. 3, Hope tore her Miss Photogenic sash into shreds and ran from the fairgrounds. Just kidding. A girl can dream. It was more like this. 3 things that happened after I stood up to Hope. 1, Hope stared at me for a second, then turned and left with her mom. 2, my mom gave me a quick shoulder squeeze and whispered, Nice going, kid. 3, Kate looped her arm through mine and asked if I was allowed to go with her and Zora for cotton candy before the band played. Zora asked Amelia if she was going to join us, but she shook her head. I think I'm done with Cloverfest for today, she said, then turned and left with her mom. I couldn't tell if she was mad at me or not. I had a feeling that as nasty as Hope had been to me, she had probably lit into Amelia even more when she'd gone backstage. And Amelia still had to be her cousin. When we returned to our parents in the area by the pageant stage for our cotton candy, there was still a crowd waiting to hear the band. I was glad Ted and Marcus were going to have a big audience, but I also felt a little nervous for them. Most of their practices I'd overheard had sounded pretty rusty. 12 things I heard in the first few minutes of Ted and Marcus's band performance. 1, high-pitched feedback sounds as Marcus tried to adjust his guitar amp. 2, a low electric hum before Ted started his drum line. 3, the bass player Lee strumming a chord. 4, Marcus's voice singing the beginning of their opening song. He was a little hard to hear at first, but with each word his voice got stronger. I had to admit, they weren't doing too badly. In fact, their band actually sounded, well, good. 5, Charlie's grandma saying, We don't need to hear this racket. Let's go to the bake sale. 6, Charlie's response, Grandma, my friend's brothers are in this band. I want to stay. 7, Charlie's grandma again as she frowned and squinted at the stage. Which ones are your friend's brothers? 8, an interruption from Charlie's mom. Mother, why don't you just go ahead to the bake sale on your own? I'll stay here with Charlie. 9, fine. Charlie's grandma snipped as she turned to leave. But I don't know how you can listen to this. 10, Zora's mom quietly stepping up beside us and saying, Hey, Lisa, to Charlie's mom. 11, Charlie's mom saying, Hey, Rhonda, with a small smile. The band sounds great. 12, Zora cutting in with, Mom, can we go up front? Marcus said Ted might throw his drumsticks into the crowd at the end. I didn't care about catching a drumstick, considering they were all over the place at my house. But I was still glad when the moms said okay, including my mom, who gave my shoulder another little squeeze. Charlie was happy too. The miserable look on his face totally disappeared when Zora grabbed his arm and said, Let's go! As I worked my way through the crowd with my friends, I wondered how much Zora's mom had heard Charlie's grandma complaining about the band. I wondered what Zora's mom and Charlie's mom would talk about after we left. I wondered how much things had changed for the two of them since they were kids growing up together. I turned around and looked at them after we got to the front of the crowd, and they were both standing quietly, listening to the boys play. No one in our group caught a drumstick, but I did see Marcus toss Charlie a guitar pick. One part of the Cloverfest where no one is allowed until the last day, the 4-leaf clover field. Every day while the rest of the fairgrounds are swarming with people, one field is roped off, with green ribbon, of course, and no one is allowed to walk there. I asked Kate why we couldn't go in, and she said, That's the 4-leaf clover field. You can't go there until the last day, when they let all the kids in to look for the 4-leaf clover. 3 things you're guaranteed to find in the 4-leaf clover field: grass, dirt, millions and millions of 3-leaf clovers. One thing you're not guaranteed to find in the 4-leaf clover field: a 4-leaf clover. What? Ted said when Marcus told him that. They don't even sneak in a four-leaf clover from somewhere else to make sure someone finds one? Marcus seemed surprised in the way that all Clover Gappers, or is it Clover Gappites? Gappians? Gapsters? Gaplanders? Get when any outsiders express confusion about Cloverfest. No, he explained, speaking lowly to Ted. That would be cheating. Some years nobody finds one, but if you do find one, you're considered the luckiest kid in Clover Gap for a whole year. Ted thought this was the stupidest thing he'd ever heard. Not that it mattered, because he couldn't be in the four-leaf clover hunt anyway. It's only for kids 11 and under. But Mom seemed to think it was charming, and Dad thought it was the coolest thing ever. With the news about the four-leaf clover hunt that might actually never turn up a four-leaf clover, it seemed that Dad's conversion to Clover Gapper, I'm going to go with Gapper, was complete. It was also clear that I had no choice but to participate. Dad was just too excited. 3 things I want to teach kids in Clover Gap, now that I'm finding my voice here. 1, how to play wall ball. 2, all the words that parents just don't understand, and it's the end of the world as we know it. These are old songs Millie's dad knows. He helped us memorize the words when we were bored one day after school. 3, what an urban legend is. I decided to tackle the last one first, because everyone here seems a little crazy pants over the four-leaf clover business. 4 stories about the four-leaf clover hunt that people in town believe to be 100% true. Number 1, one year the kid who found the four-leaf clover got kicked by a horse in the petting zoo later that day, and it didn't even give her a bruise. 2, another year the four-leaf clover finder went on to become the winner of the town spelling bee. 3, one magical year, the winning kid found a 5-leaf clover, which is supposed to bring luck and money, and the next day, her family won a $500 raffle. 4, no one has ever found a 6-leaf clover, but if that ever happens, get excited because everyone knows that 6-leaf clovers bring fame. 3 things I tried to explain about urban legends. 1, the fact that no one is quite able to recall the names of these lottery-winning, phenomenal spelling, horse-kick-surviving clover finders makes these stories suspicious. 2, one surefire thing that a story is an urban legend is that no one can remember who it happened to, or everyone says it happened to my cousin's friend, or my neighbor's aunt, or something like that. 3, urban legends are just that, legends. Stories that are made up, but that people believe to be true. Besides, who ever heard of 6-leaf clover? People who took my reasoning to heart. No one. No one seemed to care for my logical explanations, not even Kate the skeptic. Oh well, even though my friends didn't listen, I was glad I had tried. Turns out speaking up gets easier the more you do it. 2 reasons I decided to go ahead with the clover hunt despite my doubts. 1, if you're under 12 years old in Clover Gap on the last day of Cloverfest, there is literally nothing to do other than join the hunt for a 4-leaf clover. 2, I have to admit, I'm a little curious. 3 instructions we were given before the start of the clover hunt. 1, do your best to walk around the clovers, not on them. 2, please stay at least 3 feet away from all the other clover hunters. 3, if you find a 4-leaf clover, pick it carefully, raise it above your head and yell, 4! A clover judge will come over to verify your finding. At this point, I saw Dad looking enviously at the clover judges with their green badges. I knew he was wondering how he could get that job next year. 1 item each kid got before the hunt started. A plastic magnifying glass. That's another rule. Only these standard issue magnifying glasses will be permitted. Any magnifying glasses that are smuggled into the hunt will be confiscated. Yikes. 3 kids who seem to have an edge in the hunt, and the weird things I remember about them that make me think this. 1, Eric Newland. I overheard him bragging to another kid about his better than 20/20 vision on the day the school nurse checked our vision in September. 2, Bonnie Diaz. She is a word hunt queen. On snowy days when we had to have recess inside, the lunch aides would keep us busy with things like crossword puzzles and word hunts, and Bonnie always finished her word hunts in no time. and I figured that hunting for four-leaf clovers is kind of like hunting for hidden words. 3. Bridget Rooney. As much as people here try to distance Cloverfest from St. Patrick's Day and Irish stuff, I don't think Bridget is having it. She is very, very into being Irish American, and yesterday in the Tilt-A-Whirl line, I heard her saying to some of the other girls, "I must make my ancestors proud. That four-leaf clover is mine." Yikes again. 3 kids who likely don't have a prayer of winning. 1. Clark Middleton. He has terrible seasonal allergies. I don't know the kid, but I've noticed him having sneezing attacks outside school every day since mid-March. I can't imagine it's easy to focus on a patch of clovers when you can't stop sneezing. Frankly, I was surprised his parents even let him participate. But I guess one thing I've learned is that Clover Gap takes the four-leaf clover hunt very seriously. 2. Amelia. The clover field is kind of muddy, and from what everyone has told me, you have to spend a lot of time on your knees if you want to have a chance of finding a four-leafer. It may not surprise you to hear that Amelia is not one to willingly get her clothes dirty, so I can't see her going all out in the hunt. Of course, as crazy as everyone gets during Cloverfest, you never know. 3. Me. Rookie disadvantage. I've never participated in the hunt, nor have I even looked for a four-leaf clover anywhere else. I think it's also fair to say that my level of interest and motivation is considerably lower than that of my opponents. 3 rituals that preceded the beginning of the clover hunt. 1. Singing of the national anthem by the Clover Chorus. 2. Recitation of a brief history of Cloverfest by the mayor. 3. Cutting of the ribbon that roped off the entrance to the clover field, accompanied by the charge to "Find that clover leaf!" This from the president of the Clover Council. And with that, the loudspeakers started blaring, "I'm looking over for a four-leaf clover," and the kids were released into the great green hunting ground. 4 hunting strategies employed by my friends after the ribbon was cut. 1. Charlie and Zora. Run at top speed to the opposite side of the field to claim the spots that are farthest away from the crowd. 2. Zach. Drop to the ground and start walking on your knees while surveying the ground with a magnifying glass. 3. Amelia. Seek out a shady spot to the side, fold a monogrammed beach towel and sit on it while peering carefully at the clovers. 4. Kate. Wait for the crowd to disperse, then patiently sort through a trampled spot near the entrance. And me? As usual, I was pretty distracted by people. There was way too much to watch for me to be able to focus on the ground. A few things I noticed as other kids were scrambling in the field. 1. Eric Newland standing straight and tall while examining a spot in the middle of the field. I guess when you have better than 20/20 vision, you don't have to bend over to find a four-leaf clover. 2. Bridget Rooney, bending over the field like a giant bug, her face centimeters away from the ground as the shamrock antennas on her headband bobbed every time she moved. 3. Bonnie Diaz, unnerving the other kids each time she picked a clover and examined it closely. 4. Poor Clark Middleton, sneezing on his magnifying glass and wiping it clean. 5. Mr. Albright and Nurse Taylor standing together on the sidelines, laughing and drinking clover shakes. 6. Mom chatting with Kate's mom and taking pictures of the whole scene. 7. Dad signing a clipboard at the Clover Council table. 8. Ted throwing a frisbee to Marcus. A frisbee he threw a bit too hard so that Marcus missed it and it flew over the heads of the crowd and beyond the ribbon around the clover field until it came to a stop about 2 feet from where I was standing. 2 things I did not see when I bent down to pick up the frisbee. 1. A 4-leaf clover. 2. A 5-leaf clover. 2 things I did see when I bent down to pick up the frisbee. 1. A bunch of 3-leaf clovers. 2. 1 6-leaf clover. 4 things I heard after picking up the 6-leafer to examine it. 1. At first, nothing but my own inner voice counting to be sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2. Ted yelling, "Annie, what are you doing? Throw back the frisbee." 3. My dad saying, "I think she found something. 4. The mayor and the president of the Clover Council saying, "Young lady, what's going on? Do you have something there?" One moment of my life I actually have a hard time remembering clearly. This one. The moment that I became the first kid ever to find a 6-leaf clover in the Cloverfest clover hunt. 7 things I do remember. 1. The 10 members of the Clover Council sprinting over to confirm my discovery. 2. Being led to a platform where the mayor made some kind of announcement about my finding the first ever 6-leaf clover in Clover Gap, and how this would make me and the town famous. 3. My dad beaming. 4. My mom keeping a hand on my shoulder the whole time. 5. Ted yelling, "That's my sister!" 6. Lots of people taking pictures. 7. The Clover Council president taking the clover and promising to return it to me once it had been properly preserved. 4 reasons the rest is so hard to recall. 1. It happened so fast. 2. It was really noisy. 3. There were too many people around for me to notice much about any of them. 4. I couldn't stop thinking. 4 things I was thinking. 1. This is so crazy. 2. This is kind of fun. 3. This is also a little scary. 4. So much for blending into the background. One person who interrupted my swirling thoughts. Amelia. 3 things Amelia said that could have knocked me over with a feather. Mom says that sometimes. It means something's really surprising. 1. Congratulations. 2. In my family, you're already famous for the way you stood up to Hope last night. No one has ever done that before. 3. Thanks for not telling her that I threw up. But maybe I should have, I said. Then she would have been more understanding. 7 more things Amelia said after she stopped laughing. 1. Hope never understands anyone's problems but her own. 2. She was furious at me last night. 3. Sorry I left early, but I didn't want to be at Cloverfest anymore. 4. I was upset on the way home, but my mom gave me a good pep talk and told me Hope needs to get over herself. 5. I think that messed up routine was the worst thing that's ever happened to her. 6. I have to see if I can get a video of it. 7. Want to go get some clover shakes with Zora and me? And then I felt like we had turned a corner. Amelia inviting me to do something with just her and Zora. That had definitely never happened before. 3 things I decided to bring up as we walked to meet Zora at the shake stand. 1. The times Amelia had been weird to me throughout the school year. She was trying. I had to give her credit for that. Let bygones be bygones, my dad would say. 2. The A&Z photo album I saw in her room. It was obvious by now that Kate's hunch was right. Amelia had been chilly to me because she and Zora had always been tight, and she was having a hard time letting me inside the circle. I know how I would have felt if it had been some new kid had moved to Brooklyn and suddenly become great friends with Millie while I was still there. I mean, look what happened when Millie made new friends after I was gone. 3. The fact that I don't really like clover shakes, with all the good vibes in the air, it just didn't seem like the time to point out that they have a bitter aftertaste. Not surprisingly, people here love their clover shakes. 5 remarks made by my family on the way home from the clover hunt. 1. Dad. Wasn't this an amazing day? Isn't this an amazing little town? 2. Ted. The fame thing is kind of self-fulfilling, isn't it? I mean, of course a 6-leaf clover will bring you fame because it's so rare that everyone winds up hearing about it. It's not like there's any magic involved. I had to admit he had a point. 3. Mom. Are you all right, Annie? You're awfully quiet. 4. Me. I'm okay. I'm always quiet. 5. Ted. Not really. Not anymore. Mom turned around and smiled. She knew Ted was right. I wasn't so quiet anymore, and I didn't have many words just then. It had been a crazy day, and it was about to get crazier. 3 kinds of people I half expected to see at my house when we returned. A news crew, a marching band, a crowd of photographers. 1 person I did not expect to see at my house when we returned. Millie. But there she was, sitting on our front steps, holding a wrapped package. Her mom and dad were standing in the yard, checking out the rose bushes. First words spoken up by each grown-up. Dad, "Hey, strangers!" Mom, "You guys!" Millie's dad, "Hey, yourself!" Millie's mom, "Annie, we hear you're famous." At which point I thought, whoa, maybe it is true about the six-leaf clover bringing you fame, because how else would they know already? Two things Ted said to bring me back to reality. One, Dad, you posted about the clover on Facebook, didn't you? Oh yeah, that would explain how they knew. Two, Annie, aren't you going to talk? Five things I've been wanting to say to Millie for months. One, why haven't you written to me? Two, why didn't you answer my question about Charlotte? Three, what's going on back in Brooklyn? Four, are you still my friend? Five, will I ever see you again? At least now I knew I had an answer to that last one. The only thing I could think to say to Millie at that moment, why are you here? Millie was quiet. After a heavy few seconds, her dad explained that our house was on the way to some relatives they were visiting, so they thought they'd stop and surprise us. I was definitely surprised. How Millie finally broke her silence. Hi, Annie. Can I see inside your house? Things I said as I gave Millie a tour of the house. This is the living room. This is the dining room. This is the kitchen. Those are the basement stairs. Out there's the backyard. Upstairs are the bedrooms and the bathrooms. You get the picture. I was barely speaking to her. I was being terse, to use a Mr. Albright word. Why was I being terse? One, I was thinking about the unanswered email. Two, I was wondering if she was best friends with Charlotte now. Three, I was wondering how she could ask for a tour of my house without explaining any of that stuff first. Two things Millie and I said at the exact same time. Millie, can I see your room? Me, how come you stopped writing back to me? I repeated my question. Why did you stop writing back to me? Reasons Millie gave for not writing. One, I didn't know what to say. Two, I knew you'd be mad if I told you you were right, that it was Charlotte Devlin I was going to the movies with. I didn't know how to tell you that she's actually a lot nicer now. I think it has something to do with her getting braces. When I told Millie she was getting off topic, she looked surprised that I had interrupted her, but she said okay and continued. Three, you sounded like you had a bunch of new friends here and it made me feel weird. Finally, she said, you're right, though. I should have written. I'm sorry. Can I show you what I brought? Three things I thought might have been in the wrapped box Millie brought. One, Brooklyn bagels. Two, a friendship bracelet. Three, my Guinness Book of World Records, which she had borrowed and never gave back. Two things that were in the box. One, a hand turkey with the words, Happy, Very Belated Thanksgiving, written on it. Two, a marble notebook, the one we had started writing notes to each other in right before I found out I was moving. Open it, Millie said. 51 notes that were in the marble notebook. One, on the first page, the last note I wrote to Millie in Brooklyn. It just said, I think I babbled to Mr. Lawrence about something I shouldn't have. I'll tell you more about it at lunch. 2 through 51. Notes Millie wrote to me during all the months I was gone. There's not much in it for the months when I was good about emailing, she said, when she saw my surprised face. Then for a while, after you asked about Charlotte, I started feeling weird about not writing you back, and I wasn't sure what to say. But I kept the notes going all along, see? She flipped through the pages, and I could see, in her funny, pointy handwriting, reports on everything that had happened to her in Brooklyn that year. I knew I would take time to read all of them later, but for now, certain things jumped out at me. The names of kids in our class, a goofy cartoon of Mr. Lawrence, doodles of stars and planets, and a few times, in big letters, the words sorry and "Arr! I wish you were here." I haven't been much of a hugger since around first grade, and neither has Millie, but after I looked through the notebook, I reached out and gave her hand a little squeeze. She knew what it meant. She squeezed back. 4 things that broke my trance over the notebook. 1, the doorbell ringing. 2, the phone ringing. 3, Ted saying, "Geez, it's the whole town." 4, Mom calling up the stairs, "Annie, can you come down here, please?" 8 people Millie and I found waiting at the bottom of the stairs. Zora, Kate, Amelia, Charlie, Zach, Mr. Albright, Nurse Taylor, Principal Wilson, who said, "We just want to stop by and congratulate our famous student." I wasn't sure what to say, but it didn't really matter because Dad then just came in and said, "That was Channel 7 on the phone. They want to interview for a story on tonight's news at 6. 8 questions people had then. 1, Zora, "What are you going to wear?" 2, Amelia, "Do you want to borrow my Clover outfit for this? You should look more Clovery. You're a Clover Gapper now." I was right. It is Clover Gapper. Kate, "Can you get the weather guy's autograph for me?" 4, Ted, "Can Mind the Gap play in the background?" 5, Mr. Albright, "Do you know that if they ask you about anything that you don't want them to put on air, you should say, 'off the record,' before you answer?" 6, Millie, in a whisper, "Who are all these people?" 7, Dad, "Do you think you want to do this, Annie?" 8, me, "Should I do it? What would I say?" And then Mom said exactly what I should have known she would say, which was, "It's totally up to you, hun. But I think you'd be great. Just be you." What does it mean for me to be just me? Who is that? 10 possible answers. 1, a 5th grade kid who just found the 6-leaf clover. 2, a kid who usually notices a lot, but only found the clover because it was beside a frisbee. 3, a city kid who accidentally told a family secret. 4, a Clover Gapper who is figuring out how to fit in. A little sister. 6, the quiet friend who only talks if she really has to, and I guess in a news interview you really have to. 7, the girl who saved Amelia from becoming a blood sister. 8, the girl who put hope in her place at Cloverfest. 9, someone who is really missed by Millie. 10, a kid who's just figuring out how to speak up. "Okay, Annie, you got this," I thought. "Sure," I said. "I'll do it." Crowd reaction to my decision? Cheering. 2, laughing at the cheering, which seemed a bit over the top. Me and Kate. 3, hugs from Mom and Dad. 3, drumming from Ted, of course. 4, a little hug from Nurse Taylor, who said she and Mr. Albright had to go, but she would be sure to watch that night. "Why are they leaving together?" Kate whispered as Mr. Albright and Nurse Taylor walked out the door. "Off the record?" I said. "I think she's his girlfriend." 7 ways life has changed since I became the Clover Kid. That's what the lady on the news called me. 1, I got a bunch of free stuff, like Clover necklaces, t-shirts, socks, even a little stuffed Clover. I've been trying to pass it out to my friends in a way that seems fair. As lifelong Clover Gappers, they're more excited for the stuff than I am. Zora got the necklaces, Kate got the jeans patches, Zach and Charlie got shoelaces, and Amelia got the pencils. Round, of course. I did keep the stuffed Clover, though. I named it Jade. 2, Mom and Dad go out more. Everyone got to know our family after my famous find, so they started making new friends. Plus, people were so impressed by Dad's recipes at Cloverfest, his Clover guacamole won a blue ribbon, that some other parents asked them to join their gourmet dinner club. 3, Mom has been working more. One of the members of the Clover Council found out she was a graphic designer and checked out her website. He liked Mom's portfolio so much that he asked her to design all the new stuff for them. Stationery, banners, the works. And some other organizations around here are starting to hire her too. She keeps reminding Ted and me that these are civic clubs with limited budgets, and it's not like we've hit the jackpot or anything. But I can tell she's happy to have a little extra income. 4, everyone at school knows who I am now, even the older kids. The other day, Will Gardner, 6th grader, said, "Hey, Annie," to me in the hallway, and I thought Amelia was going to faint. She says he's crazy gorgeous, and she's kind of right. 5, for the first time ever, there are people I don't know who know me. The other day, I was at the drugstore with Mom, and a girl I'd never noticed before asked me if she could get a selfie with me. That was definitely a first. 6, The more people I get to know, the less afraid I am to talk to them. 7. Now Millie writes to me more than I write to her. But that's not because I'm famous. It's because we're friends again, and I don't write less because I'm mad at her. I'm just busier these days. I don't have one best friend like I did in Brooklyn, or any backup friends like I thought I needed. They're all just my friends, and the more friends you have, the more stuff you have to do. So my email writing time is limited. 5 ways my life has not changed since becoming the Clover kid. 1. I still have to help wash the dishes every night. 2. Even though Mom has booked more work, we still aren't sure how long Dad's job will last once the new highway is done. But he seems more at ease about it the longer it goes on. Government red tape makes these things last forever, he keeps saying. We'll see. But I don't wonder as much as I used to if we're going to move back to Brooklyn. Ted never asks either. No one has said it out loud, but I think we all might be okay with staying here. 3. I still get embarrassed pretty easily. Let's just say I learned my lesson about saving chewing gum behind my ear. What worked for Violet Beauregard does not work for me. 4. Ted still makes fun of me for doing klutzy things. He's been calling me Chewy or Chewbacca ever since the gum incident. 5. I still don't have a phone. My 4 favorite chewing gum flavors: watermelon, grape, wild cherry, strawberry kiwi. 3 things I admitted to Kate, Zora, and Amelia in the pond fort at the beginning of summer break. 1. I'm afraid of bears. 2. I was afraid I wouldn't meet any friends in Clover Gap. But you did, Amelia said. 3. I have really good memory, but for weird stuff. We kind of figured, Kate said. Yeah, Zora added. You've been talking a lot more lately, and you remember the craziest things about people. What happened after I told the truth about my memory? Nothing. Turns out no one thinks it's creepy, except maybe Ted. 7 plans I have for the summer. 1. Finish Mom's book challenge so I can finally get my ears pierced. 2. Practice my free throws so I can beat Ted in horse. 3. Learn how to dive at the town pool. 4. Visit Millie in Brooklyn. Mom said we can go there for 4th of July because Millie has an awesome view of the fireworks from the roof of her building. And Ted is all excited to play with his old band and hit his favorite music stores. He told Marcus he'd bring back some new guitar picks for him. 5. Help Kate learn her lines for her drama camp play. She thinks I'll be good at this because of my memory. I tried telling her it doesn't really work that way, but she says I'm still her best bet. 6. Meet with Amelia to write letters to Zora in Jamaica, where she'll be spending a month with her grandparents. Zora said we had to write to her every day, but we told her it would be more like once a week. I could tell that standing up to Zora was hard for Amelia, but I think she's getting better at it. Amelia already made stationery for us to use for the letters. It has a little Clover and from A squared to Z across the top. 7. Go to our family's special beach spot, Wren Island, with Aunt Pen. The other day I got an email from her saying she can't wait to hear all about how things have been going since she saw us at Thanksgiving, and all the adventures I've been having in Clover Gap. So much has happened this year, I really don't know what to tell her first. I guess I'd better start by making a list.